Hi everybody, welcome to a special episode of Thank Goddess It's Friday, because this is going out live on Friday the 13th. And if you've read my Goddess Wisdom Made Easy book, you'll be aware, but for many of you that haven't, Friday the 13th was the day sacred to the goddess in the ancient world, where people would take the day off work to stay home and make love. And that's because Friday is ruled by Venus. Hence, we have the name Friday. It comes from the Norse goddess Freya, the Norse name for Venus, Freya's day. And 13 was sacred to the goddess because there are 13 lunar months or lunar cycles in a year, and the feminine is governed by the moon. Hence, we have a monthly cycle. So, this all changed when the Roman Empire demonized everything that had gone before that was held sacred, i.e., initiation into the mystic feminine, and made the feminine out to be evil. So, ever since Friday the 13th is a day that is synonymous with horror films, the dark, things that are demonic and scary. But that is a distortion of the truth. It's a day to celebrate love. So, for this episode, I'm going to speak about what stands in the way of true love and how we've been groomed or conditioned to view true love through a distorted lens, i.e., constructing a mask. So, today's episode I've called Dropping the Mask, and being available to love. And it's symbolic that today's episode is number 21, 21 being the age that one in the ancient world as a male, as a youth, would be initiated into the mysteries of the sacred feminine, into the grail, because this is the end of the third 7-year cycle when the energy moves from the solar plexus, the rational self, into the heart, when one can be truly available to one's feeling function. So, why do we construct a mask? Well, basically, because we're afraid of rejection. We're afraid that our true self, our soul, is not worthy of love. And so, the mask is the persona, the personality, the carefully constructed veneer, which we construct through observing the response that the outside world, that others have to us. And we start this usually around the age of 7. And this is when we start to become more aware of ourselves as separate from our mother. And when we extricate ourselves from being within her aura, within her energy field. And so we start to become more aware of the external world. We're not just, circumnavigating our mums. And we become more sensitive to the feedback we receive from others. So if we get a harsh look from our dads or from the kids at school, we'll change our behavior in order to become more pleasing to them. So we start to please and appease. We start to construct behaviors, compulsive behaviors, that are built on trying to garner validation and approval. And this is where the mask starts to become constructed. But that mask, like the film The Man in the Iron Mask, it becomes restrictive, okay, like Darth Vader. And it's something that becomes a heavy burden which we carry, a control which traps the soul. So, some of the ways that we're groomed by, our parents unwittingly, by our, culture of origin to construct the mask, is the roles that we play, such as the good daughter or the good son, and this might weigh upon us in the form of duty. We're duty bound. Our parents might put guilt upon us. Well, we've paid for a good education, or we've kept a roof over your head. Now you need to pay back. Yeah, you need to go down the trajectory that we have assigned for you, whether that's become a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, or you might be expected to be a good wife or a good husband. Yeah, make us proud, make a good match. Um, or be a good friend, a good boss, a good pillar of the community, a good upstanding citizen, a selfless volunteer, a conscientious activist. You know, these are all roles. They're not who we are. So they're all an attempt to validate that our life is worth something, that we are worth something. And this is a slippery slope, because if we are over identified with the roles that we play, we don't know who we are. We're a chameleon. We get so good at being who we think others want us to be, or who we need to be in order for us to survive, to get our needs met, that we have no idea of who we are. And in the archetypes, this is Apollo, the good boy, or Athena, the good girl. Okay. And these are the aspects that govern the solar plexus. They are rationally dominant. So, this is when we're living for others. Okay. If we're living out of the persona. And it can be a challenge to even chip away at that mask. In fact, the fastest way to do it is to listen to music. Okay, because art is the language of the soul. So the more that and music is the fastest way to connect with our feelings if we've disconnected from our feelings. So pay attention to your playlist, to what it is that you're listening to, because the lyrics of that, the mood of that, is going to connect you with what's happening beneath the mask. Okay. Now, other ways that we are conditioned to construct a mask, if we think about little boys in particular, I'm just going to have a sip of my chai. Little boys' aspiration figures in a patriarchy are superheroes. And these are masked men who live a double life. Yeah, who hide behind, an identity that is more than perfect. And as I'm filming this, the sun is moving through Virgo. And Virgo, the shadow of Virgo is trying to attain perfection, whether that's seeking the perfect partner and fearing making a commitment to somebody who's less than perfect for fear of getting it wrong, making the wrong choice, or placing an unfair expectation on ourselves that we ourselves must be perfect in order to be worthy of love, to not risk rejection, and that until we are perfect, we have the perfect body, or we have achieved the perfect job, or have enough money in the bank, or the perfect body, that we don't dare put ourselves out there and risk rejection. But getting back to, superheroes like Eros, the unattainable boy who flirts, yeah, who puts it out there that he's available by night, but come the light of day, he flits away. Come dawn, he doesn't want to reveal his inner self, his inner terrain, because he doesn't know who he is. He hasn't taken that journey, the road less traveled, to quote Scott Peck. So, we see superheroes courting a woman, or flirting with a woman, often on the rooftops at night, like Superman, or, in the dark shadows, like Batman, or Spider-Man climbing up her bedroom wall. But when she wants to know him, when she wants to enter into something real with him, he flies away. Duty calls. He's always distracted. He's trying to save the world in order to prove to himself that his life is valid. Yeah, because this idea that we have to save the world, really we have to save ourselves. That's how we save the world, on the understanding everything is interconnected. When we take responsibility for healing ourselves, for looking at our unconscious thoughts and behaviors, what drives us, what motivates us, making the unconscious conscious and taking responsibility for healing our wounds so that we can be in right relationship with the people in our world. That's how we heal the world. Not by going out there and trying to be all things to everybody, yeah, and appearing as the saviour in everybody's life, playing the role of the Good Samaritan. When we do that, we're not even there for ourselves, let alone the people that we feel a connection with, because we're too busy, we're too distracted. And this is what's at the root of workaholism. Yeah, I've journeyed this myself. Yeah, that we're so busy being available to others that we're actually neglecting ourselves, abandoning ourselves and our loved ones. So, in social media, it drives this. It's like showing up, putting posts up, saying what we're doing out there for, the adoring masses, but not necessarily spending quality time with ourselves and with those people that we really do want to connect more with. So, superheroes condition men to be avoidant. Yeah. And for people not to really know them, to keep the mask on, which is a way of hiding. It's a cowardice. It's not heroic at all. Heroism is dropping the mask, is risking being vulnerable, seen, and having your flaws be seen. That's what's truly heroic. So what we've been told is super heroic is actually an inversion. Similarly, women are conditioned to construct a mask with cosmetics, to be the unattainable muse, shadow Aphrodite. Yeah, we see this today with young women, posing. You go to holiday destinations and you see young women, constructing a small movie set and posing for these videos which they're putting out on social media, and they're not even truly available to the person that they're with, be it a friend or a lover. It's all carefully edited, everything is a construction, a fantasy world. So, we are not just, told that we need to construct a veneer of beauty, of perfection, of female perfection. And as women, we're really conditioned to think that our looks are our worth. Okay. So women are groomed to look doll-like, compliant, with big doe eyes that are trusting and gullible and naive, and bat their big eyelashes, like somebody who uses her feminine wiles to seduce and enchant. But enchantment, again, is not love. Enchantment is a spell. It's dark magic. So I've got a few words that I wrote in my diary this week, which I wanted to share with you. Enchantment is not love. Love requires authenticity and vulnerability. It's about us revealing our brokenness. The masked one is not willing to remove their veneer of charm, of surface level social interaction for something that is truly honest. Their mating dance is a deception born of illusion. Hence, the distortion of Beltane. Correct pronunciation I learnt in Ireland last year is Beltane, and this is the rites of spring, which in the ancient world was the coming together of man and woman, but as open vessels for the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine, making love on the ley lines to regenerate the earth through their sacred coupling. But this was distorted into the masked ball, the masquerade ball. And this was done, in elite castles by the upper echelons of society. And in the masked ball, while originally a mask was worn by the shaman, to act as a vessel for where you'd invoke the 7 faces of the god and the 7 faces of the goddess to come through you in the sacred act of coupling as a shamanic rite. Now in the masquerade ball, the true self was hidden. And this is where the seeds were sown for betrayal on a night when nothing is as it seems, where couples were granted a free pass for adultery. So this is an insult to the betrothal of the Hieros Gamos, where, masks were also used to invoke the god and the goddess to enact the mythic stories that help to heal the psyche in the mystery plays of ritual theatre, that healed the anima mundi, the world soul. But this was appropriated into dark rites, such as those seen in the film Eyes Wide Shut, where sex is used in dark magic to assert power over, instead of surrendering to a higher power, raising one's power through raising one's sexual energy to nourish the grid of the earth. And all of this was appropriated to hide the deception, the betrayal of the heart. So love became equated with betrayal, with power, and power used as a poor excuse for an aphrodisiac. This is where we see the roots of BDSM, sadomasochism, which now at the end of the Piscean age is fashionable. Yeah, we see power rather than love used as an aphrodisiac. And, this is, again, this distortion. Masks are now synonymous with the dramatic arts, tragedy and comedy, indicating that the mask is worn. Wherever the mask is worn, the false self, folly, will follow. In other words, there will be drama. Whenever you have a mask on, whenever you're not being true to yourself and to others, you will unconsciously manifest karma drama. There will be tears, there will be drama, and there will be comedy, but the joke will be on you, on us. The cosmic joke, the fool, the trickster, one who learns through their own hard knocks. So hence we see the players that are us on the world stage, and the events are played out at our expense. So, now in this time of revelations, the revealing of truth, we need to remove the mask and understand that the mask isn't just a physical mask, but it's a social mask of manners, of pleasantries, of charm. You know, we are conditioned to seek out and win the affections of Prince Charming or a charming young maiden. Somebody who has manufactured a wonderful veneer. And even better if they are immature, a youth, or they have good prospects, good breeding. This is all falsity, it's not truth. And because we're conditioned to be charmed, to be enchanted, we enter unwittingly into a web of illusion. This is not high magic, this is low magic, this is deception, this is the casting of an enchantment or an illusion. High magic is alchemy. I'm so excited to be going to Egypt for the equinox. I learned this week it was originally called chem, from the word alchemy. And for me, it's a personal rite of passage to go there when Pluto is conjunct my moon, to transform my own shadow. And I feel like I'm living through my 7 fears right now in this time of chaos. And I believe that we all are, because we're all mirrors of each other. But that's another talk for another day. So we must learn to break this spell of enchantment, this infatuation with a fantasy, a projected ideal, because it is not love, it is a trick, it is a deception. It's been sold to us as romantic love. And this is when we are stuck in the sacral. For women, that's shadow Aphrodite, hiding behind this mask, trying to construct the perfect persona, the beautiful eternal maiden that others fall in love with. But she ends up falling on her own sword, falling in love with the potential of others, not having anything real, always being infatuated with somebody. Similarly, shadow Adonis, or Dionysus, he hides behind a mask of seduction as well. Whether it's conscious or unconscious, he's always charming a flotilla of potentials and has a sea of women that are harboring a flame for him, their flame, their Shakti. So every time they self-pleasure thinking of him, they are sending their Shakti, their Kundalini to him. And he's siphoning their Shakti. This is dark magic, dark alchemy. And this generates charisma. And the more charisma a man has, the more women he can enchant. You know, this is, I suppose, a shadow harem, like Solomon, having all of these women that are in a fantasy, in a spellbound enchantment. And yet he is a very lonely man. He has no one to share with. So why are we caught in this web of enchantment? Well, because it's been handed down through endemic trauma. Because we witnessed in our parents' union often a father who was avoidant and a mother who was love addicted, addicted to the fantasy and the potential that she saw in her husband. And the reason this becomes endemic is if men aren't initiated into the Grail at the age of 21, if they aren't guided to look at their shadow, to look at the ways that their unconscious behavior is sabotaging their happiness, their luck and love, their fate, as well as success in their life, they shut their heart down and become overly rational, overly analytical, unable to make a decision, to be decisive. And it's being decisive, being able to take sure-footed action that is an embodiment of the sacred masculine. If a man is shut down, He is unavailable emotionally, unavailable to her to be an emotional support, to hold space for her. He feels that he's not enough. He feels threatened by and overwhelmed by her intensity and just wants to keep things, low key because he's afraid of losing control. And when a woman isn't able to get blood out of a stone, she looks for it elsewhere. She might become infatuated with a love idol, a matinee idol, or somebody else, or only confide in her inner world with her girlfriends, or with a priest or a rabbi, or with her gay friends. So she becomes more and more of a distant stranger to her partner, and the sex dies. Or she might become emotionally dependent on her children being her confidants, and this is emotional incest. This is not acknowledged by our culture, but it is rife. And what this does is it creates endemic trauma because the boy who is the emotional confidant for his mother feels smothered, feels controlled, feels oppressed by the burden of her emotional well-being. And this is why he becomes avoidant as an adult man, afraid of commitment, afraid of intimacy, and then we see the pattern go to the next generation. So it's up to us to heal this. We are all a mixture of being both love avoidant and love addicted, because we internalize both our mother and our father as we're growing up. That is our unconscious feminine and masculine. So we have this push me pull you effect where if we're love addictive, which tends to be more women or feminine dominant men, what we consciously crave is connection and intimacy. But equally at the same time, we are unconsciously fearing being controlled, losing our autonomy, not having free will. And this unconscious fear creates distance and mixed messages. For men and masculine dominant women who tend to be more avoidant, love avoidant, consciously they want autonomy, they want freedom because they're afraid of being controlled and smothered. But unconsciously they fear being abandoned, they fear not having intimacy and connection. And again, this push me pull you, this unintegrated self, this inner conflict sabotages happiness. So this is what we need to heal, for there to be a foundation for happiness, for love, for closeness, for connection, for something that is real. So I hope that is helpful for you in some way. This is what I'm personally journaling at the moment. And given that we're all reflections of each other, maybe it is real and timely for you as well. You have my blessing to share this and this video. And if you are interested to unpack the unconscious behaviors of the feminine and the masculine and heal and create the inner marriage, I've got a couple of online programs, one for men and one for women, and I'll put the links in. You can check that out. And I'm also going to offer a special on archetypal readings for those that do these programs. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for watching. Have a beautiful weekend, and yeah, ciao.